Beautiful, quiet morning. So, I want to ask, do you honestly believe, as a 50 plus endurance runner, that you can make significant improvements as you get older? Do you really believe that? Or do you think it's all downhill from now on? And if you think it's either all downhill or your best is behind you, then I want to say you might want to reconsider. Now, before I get into this, I want to say something. Of course, aging is a reality. I'm not saying it isn't. And I'm not saying that ultimately, if I live to 80 and I'm now 61, that I'll be significantly slower at 80 than I will be now. But you can't do anything about aging. If you're not aging, what's the alternative? So then you're looking at, okay, how can I progress the best I can from where I am now? So if you're 54 now, or 64, or 74, what's the best way that you can progress and enjoy your running from this point on? The one thing we do know is you can't change your aging. You can't change your genetics, can you? You can't change the fact that you're 5'6" and got blue eyes. That can't change. So what is the thing that is holding you back? I was asked by a lady recently on Instagram, does your coaching work? Which is a great question. Does it work? And I answered her and I said, I'll tell you why it won't work. What I said to this lady was that the biggest problem is people coming into a program consciously wanting change, but subconsciously going, yeah, but I want to keep doing what I've always done because I like it. I'm running my easy runs hard because it feels good. And you're like, yeah, but where's that getting you at the moment? Oh, I've been injured 3 times this year. I'm just getting significantly slower year on year. And you go, okay, so let's do something different. Yes, let's do something different. But I prefer it if I just kept it the same. Now, before you think this is unique to runners, it's not. I come from a hairdressing background. And people come into the salon and they go, Lee, I've really got to change. I'm so bored with my hair. It's just not me anymore. And you go, okay. So you sit down and talk about the changes that they might want to make and why they want to make them. And we do a whole consultation, which is similar to what I do with my runners. And then you start cutting their hair. And they start saying, oh, but you won't take too much off here, will you? And, oh, and you leave this, won't you? You won't touch that bit. Now, sometimes I'd put the scissors down and I'd go, Mary, do you realise something? She'd say, what? I go, everything you're asking me to do is actually to keep your hair the same. And people would literally burst out laughing because once you said it out loud, it was bloody obvious. Is that what they were saying was, I want change, but actually I want to stay where I am. And it's not unusual because even where you are isn't working, it is what you know. So that's the biggest risk to any older runner, is thinking you want change and staying where you are. If you look at what you do, you will know you have to do certain things, but are you actually doing them? I can say all day, do this, do that. There's loads of my videos that will give you insight into what you need to do differently to progress as an older endurance runner, which you can. I know I have. I'm 61, 62. Next year, I'm going to do 100k. All being equal, I will do it better than the one I did 2 years ago. I've got a marathon next year. I'm confident that I'll be in and around the 3:30 mark, maybe even PB. Will that always continue? No. But then I'll progress from that point. One of my runners did Dublin recently. I think he'd done about 20 marathons. It wasn't just about his training, but we looked at his training and said, okay, he is a really good trainer. You put a good plan in front of him, he will do it. But in the early days, it was like, how are you going to do it? Are you actually going to do your easy runs easy? Are we going to get the right dosage of speed work in there? As I call it, the sustainable speed framework. The biggest challenge Ronan had was how he executed on race day, because sometimes we can get out there on race day and everybody just goes absolutely mental and all that training goes out the window. The amount of people that I speak to after the big marathons, like London, New York recently, and you start getting the messages, yeah, didn't go so well on race day. Not from runners I've coached, but from just people who are inquiring about coaching. It's okay. What didn't go so well? What could we learn from that situation? It's a beautiful morning today. And I haven't even got a coat on. It's the UK, for God's sake. Anyway, and Ronan PB'd. It was as much about the race day prep as well. The training itself. There's a runner improving. And one of my runners recently, she's only just started on one of my 6-week programs. It's like a taster program that people can come in and see if what I do does actually work. Because it's all very well saying to someone, sign up for 6 months, which I like. You might think it's for money, but actually it's primarily because you get to see progress in runners. And one of the things that I see early on is people are not going to change aerobically very quickly, but they start to enjoy their running more. Joan just started with me, and she, after a couple of weeks, just started messaging me and goes, I'm enjoying my running so much more now than I have been. And that's the first step. Aerobic fitness is going to take a bit of time, isn't it? If somebody was out running today, aerobically, some of those changes are going to not come through for another 6 weeks or so. But the rebuild begins with how things are done. And that's what Joan was saying. I'm starting to enjoy my running again. Why that's important for us older endurance runners is that you've got to have hope. You've got to have hope. Of all the things in running, once hope goes, it's like, what's the bloody point? People start to go, what's the bloody point of doing this if there's no point? That's a lack of hope. The moment your training starts to get to a point where you start to reignite hope, then you've got a kind of foundation to build everything else on, because you start doing it with a purpose. So I often say that one of the things I do early on in my program is to give not runners false hope. I've got runners from their early 50s right through into their 70s. I get inquiries from runners from their 50s right up into their mid-late 70s. Now, somebody in the mid-late 70s isn't going to run like they did, if they've been a good runner, maybe like they did in the 40s or the 50s or the 60s. I'm not selling false hope, but there's still progress to be made from where they presently are. And sometimes runners lose that hope. I can't progress from where I am. Where even if it is a decline, ultimately, it's not an unenjoyable decline. You're actually saying to yourself, actually, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. And yeah, there may be a PB. I was thinking the other day, I'm 62 next year. I'm not always going to keep PBing. That's not always going to be the reality. But I want to be that runner that does well in my age group. I want to be that runner that sometimes goes past somebody 30 years younger than me and they're like, oh, who's he? One of my runners, Mark, just started with me. He was saying the other day when we had our first call together, he was saying that I think it was a half marathon and he was behind this lady the whole way. And he, after the race, spoke to her and she was like significantly older than him, and he's just respect. And that's a great feeling, isn't it? That you're still vibrant, giving age a good run for its money. That's really something. Anyway, coming to the end of my walk now. But that's what I just wanted to share today is, yeah, age is just a number. Age can't be fought, but it can be manoeuvred. Your genetics aren't the biggest thing. It's your habits that act as genetics sometimes. They're not genetics, they're just things that you do. If you keep doing the same thing, you'll keep getting the same results. I'm nearly done now. I'm going to have some breakfast. Next steps for you guys. I think the first step, if you're really interested, if you love this philosophy, you want to go in fairly cautiously, below the video there will be my book, The Dead Zone Fix. And basically, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the habits that you can change in your training effectively so that you see improvements as an older endurance runner. It's £4.99. Can't even get a decent coffee these days as I go past the coffee shop. So give that a whirl. If you're interested in more guidance, then look at my programs. Best way to have a chat with me is not YouTube, because it's not a very good place to have a chat. Check me out on Instagram, Lee Boniface on Instagram, and we can chat there. Join my email community. It's over 2,000 people now. Send out about 3 emails a week, chatting about running, different ideas, thoughts. But anyway, have a great rest of the day. I always think a video's gone on long enough when my arms start to hurt, but I did go in the gym and swim a lot, so it may be that my arms are just tired. Have a great rest of the week, whatever you're doing, and I'll be speaking to you soon. Bye for now.